Okay, next question is from Monique. She says, I have a problem with cold calling. I use the scripts, but I get no for an answer. This is an interesting one. What do you think, Jess?
Well, first of all, Monique, I also hate cold calling, so I'll join your club. And I know you feel the same, Mike. I feel two ways about cold calling, though. I've done it in the past, and I do feel strongly that it sort of is a skill that is sometimes lacking for newer agents who aren't forced to make awkward sales calls, which they tend to be at the beginning. So I think it's something everybody should go through. It kind of like throws you into the trenches of being a real estate agent, and it's good practice, honestly. But I don't think that most people are going to get a lot of good quality leads from cold calling. I think the public has sort of shifted in terms of whether or not they want people randomly calling them. Most people don't at this point. Do not call lists or higher. I'm a big proponent for shifting gears, Monique. Like, if cold calling's not working for you, let's figure out another avenue for lead generation. And probably it's going to lie within your SOI, right? Your sphere of influence. The people and the relationships that you already have will probably open more doors for you than cold calling. So, what I would do is I would create a script to ask for referrals from your friends, your family, and your past clients. And I would practice that instead. It's going to be a warmer audience. You've probably already provided value to these people in your life, and it's probably going to result in a higher percentage of yeses for you.
Totally agree. Totally agree on every front. Yeah, I'm not a fan of cold calling at all. And but the reason for that, pretty similar to you, is just I've never bought something from a cold call. Nobody's ever cold called, like not once in my life have I ever given my credit card after somebody has cold called me. Not once. And so because of that, like that's enough evidence for me to think, well, if it hasn't worked on me, why do I think it's going to work on other people? And so I've just deprioritized that strategy completely. Now I've done it as well, but I would say if you are doing it because you A, like it, fine, continue to do it. B, if you're doing it and you're kind of forced to do it, maybe you're on a team and they're like, you have to call all these leads, treat it exactly like you're saying, Jess, as practice. Just every cold call you make, if you have to make them, which I would say if you don't have to make them, don't go and spend your time and money and effort doing other things for sure. But if you do have to make them, every one of those calls, it's not the big game. Every single call is just practice. Every single call. Every single call. Play with your tonality on one. Play with your scripting on the next one. Play with your greeting and your introduction on the next one. And everything is just sheer practice. And nothing really matters if you end up getting a lead from it. It should just be practice. But the interesting thing that happens when you actually start to treat it like practice and not like, oh, I got to convert this next one. I'm going to convert this next one. When you start to treat it like practice, you become a lot more calm on the call. You become a lot more conversational. You become okay with pauses and questions. And then from there, your conversion rate goes up. So the more you treat it like practice, the higher your conversion rate actually goes.
I like that. And also make sure you're collecting some data from these calls. So if you are treating it like practice and you did notice, oh, when you opened with this remark or you closed with this question, more people seemed more interested in speaking with you again, like write that down. Because even if you don't use that technique in cold calling, if you're not planning to do it forever, you can probably use some of the tips and tricks that you're practicing in other aspects of your real estate business. And without data, we really don't have a lot to go on in the future.
It's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, is like actually assess what happened during that call. A good book that I would suggest if you are doing any types of calls like this, it's an older book now, I guess, but I think it's called Go for No. And it's all about making a call and like trying to get a no. Like your goal is to try and get a no. And with that, you end up making more calls. You're also not as, I guess, disrupted by a no or an aggressive no, because you're kind of like your goal is to get as many no's as possible, which therefore means you're making more calls. And because it's more of a numbers game than it's like the perfect script. And I think so many times agents just fall back on like trying to perfect the script. Oh, the script's not good. I just need a better script. You don't need a better script. Truly, it's the strategy. It's not the script. I can guarantee you that with a good strategy, almost any script works. And with a bad strategy, even the perfect script won't work. So it's not the script and tweaking that as much as it's just becoming more of a numbers game. And like you're saying, how can you then start to integrate some data into what's working and what's not?
And one final thing, maybe, and this of course varies market to market if it's legal or not, but if you can record the call and
Mm,
listen back to it, this is something that's horrifying to most people to listen back to their sales calls. But I've had a lot of practice doing it. I know you've had to do it too. And even to this day, like I don't enjoy necessarily watching myself selling something or listening back to a call, but you can glean a lot of information from doing that. So if you can get over yourself, get over the ego, and see it as an opportunity to improve the next one, watch it back, take some notes, put yourself in the other person's shoes, think, huh, if it was said to me in this way, would I have had that same reaction? And you can probably learn something from it. So, huge
totally.
proponent of recording your calls if you can.
If you can. Yeah. Yeah. And withhold judgment too. If you are watching yourself again, whether it's like a call, a Zoom call, anything, withhold judgment on yourself and more so just treat it like it's data, like you're saying. It's not a judgment in any way, shape, or form. It's just how can I look to improve this? But it is true. It's hard to listen to yourself, but the more you do it, the better you become. It's so much quicker too. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode. Remember, you can reach out anytime at revrealestateschool.com. If you have questions, feel free to just reach out on our website, Instagram, or send us an email, and we'd be happy to answer them live on the show. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next lesson.